plaintiff, Robert Gorey, dated the defendant, and they have a child together. Robert claims when his relationship with the defendant got rocky, he regrettably cheated on her, and he's suing his ex for the value of personal property. Defendant Cynthia Dominguez says things with Robert were good until he was arrested for assaulting her in front of her mother. Cynthia claims despite the fact that she stood by his side, Robert assaulted her again, and now he hasn't seen their son in 3 months. She's countersuing for emotional distress.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Yes, I met Cynthia through mutual friends in 2016. Became official in December of 2016. In March of 2017, she became pregnant with our 2-year-old son, Cameron. She had him in December of 2017. We had a great 2 years, 2.5 years. We got engaged in December of 2019. And I'll say the last few months of 2020, going into 2020, our relationship became really rocky and unstable because of communication and trust. So in May of 2020, I made one of the biggest regrets of my life and worst decisions. Ended up cheating on Cynthia with a family friend. And I was so embarrassed. I moved to Texas. And then the next day I sat there and thought, why did I move? I'm stupid because I lost my son I lost my dad when I was 5 years old. And I know the pain and the hurt that he has to go through because he's just young. And he went from seeing me every day to not seeing me for 3 months. I can only imagine how much he was just looking for me and wondering where his dad is.
When did you discover that he would be hurt?
Because this is not, we split before and I left for about 4 or 5 days. And I came back and he was so mad and wouldn't hug me, he wouldn't run to me, wouldn't look at me, wouldn't nothing. I had to work my butt off to get him to love me the way he did before I left and did all that.
Okay. So this time when you left for 3 months, you already knew what it had done to him for 4 days. If that's the case, why would you do it for 3 months if it devastated him for 4 days? You didn't care?
No, I have no clue, Your Honor. I was just so embarrassed and I didn't think about his feelings. I put myself before anything. And
okay, put yourself before your son. All right, because you knew how he would react. So you put your feelings ahead of his. Got it. Let me hear from you.
Like he said, we met in 2016 through mutual friends. Our relationship was really good, and then I had gotten pregnant not too far into it, and our relationship kind of went downhill after an incident had occurred where Robert was arrested for domestic abuse.
When was that?
In 2017.
Okay.
2017. He had hit me in my face in front of my mom. He was arrested for it. I was blinded by love. I stood by his side through the court cases and asked the judge and the district attorney not to give him any harsh punishment for the sake of his record and the things that he wanted to do in life to provide for our child. And they gave him a deferred prosecution. After the deferred prosecution, 3 days after he had got violent again, after the second time, I still stood by his side. I still believed that I'm sorry, I'm gonna change. And I just wanted my family, I wanted my relationship. Sure. I thought Robert was everything that I could want in a person. Finally, after all these years, 3.5 years later, I found out that Robert cheated with a family friend. And finally, right then and there, I was just done. After I just couldn't do it anymore, I was just done. My son was really, really hurt. Before all this happened, I would never knock Robert as a parent because he was an amazing father to my child. When he up and left my child and didn't see him, hasn't seen him for 3 months, now I have negative things to say.
Did he have a talk with him before he left? Your son,
really.
And tell him why?
I had to be made aware of his moving by his best friend.
I know, but did he talk to your son either by phone or how old was your son?
No, 2.5 years old.
At 2.5, yeah, my granddaughter would have been able, I can only remember her at this point. I don't remember the 4 crooked kids I have. I remember I know that the grandbaby at 2.5, she could communicate and understand pretty well.
Yeah, he was pretty hurt. He, before this, a few months before Robert leaving, we also were made aware that our son was diagnosed with autism. So that's really hard too. He has to go to a lot of different appointments and stuff.
All right, you can come to court, try to get him some money, and still have him come back to the baby and said, Daddy ain't gonna be here for a certain amount of time.
No, nothing.
All right, sir. You want to respond to any of that? She said you're a woman beater.
I did make a mistake, yes, Your Honor.
In hitting her?
Yes,
How many times?
once.
Just one occasion?
Well, the first time that the incident she was talking about, it included she was holding my child, and we got into a bad argument. I was trying to leave, and she was holding on to me, and I shoved her a little bit too hard, and she fell when she was holding my kid. And then the other incident was with the incident she just told you about, with my hand hitting her in the face with the backpack.
Your hand hitting her in the face. And don't soften it up. That doesn't make it sound any better.
Yeah, it don't make it right.
You hit her in the face. Wasn't your hand.
Yeah.
You weren't ordered to get counseling on any of this? The alternative sentencing they gave you, did they order anger management counseling?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor.
Did you go?
I did do it. Yes.
Okay.
Until probably like the last 3 months of it, of probation.
How many months were you ordered to go?
I was until he see improvement. Until he said otherwise.
And you went every month and had to show them evidence of going to the
I don't
anger
necessarily know how
management?
it worked to the T, but my PO officer would contact my anger management counselor, and they would talk on the phone and let them know if I'm progressing or how I'm doing, or if I should keep going or if I should stop going.
And you left at the 3rd month.
No, I didn't leave after them.
You
I was
left
going for
3 months.
10 months, and then I started going for the last 2 months because I didn't have insurance no more, and I couldn't afford it because it's expensive.
All right. The probation officer and ultimately the judge accepted that. You don't have insurance, so that's something everybody can say.
Yeah.
And
That's
they
a
got
good one. We better spread that word around. When you're on probation and you can't come, you just tell the judge you can't make it. No insurance. Stop calling me about that. No, I can't make it. I done told you, Judge, I don't have any insurance. No, this locking me up. Don't even think about it, Judge.
Don't get me mad.
Don't upset me. No insurance. No, sir. Is that what you told him? Let's move on, sir. All right. Tell me about your son. That's the biggest issue for me. And that's nothing I'm going to play with. What happened with your son, sir? Did you tell him you were leaving? And why haven't you been in touch with him since, if what she says is true?
I have reached out to her since I've been down here. There's no way.
Let's start with the beginning. Did you tell your son you were leaving?
No, he had no clue.
Why?
He wasn't with us when the situation occurred and the way everything played out and unfolded, because it happened inside of a car.
Okay, about calling him the next day. Daddy's not going to be home for a while. I explained to my granddaughter when I'm just going to be gone for a week or two. I said, Granddad has to work. She said, work on TV? I said, yeah, Granddad got to go to work on TV. What you see on TV, Granddad has to go out of town and do it.
Make that money, Granddad.
That's right. That was she pushed me out the door. Hey, her and Linda at the same time, they pushed me out the door. All right, sir. I guess you were ashamed probably, because I do think you care about your son, does he? Prior to that, those 2.5 years, you say he was a great father.
Absolutely.
All right, he was just scared, and he's, that's tough. And people, in many instances, avoid dealing with tough things. You're 22. Over the course of my life, since 22 and beyond, I've avoided dealing with tough things. You just kind of hey, it's too tough, too emotional for me to deal with, so I'm just gonna avoid it and not deal with it. But
I have something to say if that's okay.
certainly.
I do have an apology letter that I wrote for Cynthia, and it's partially to Cameron too, but it's more for Cynthia because she had to sit there and deal there and watch my son go through that hurt and that pain, not once, but twice. So I do have an apology letter that I would like to read to her.
Please do.
It says, first, I want to apologize for the hurt I know you and Cameron went through and for embarrassing you and putting you through all this mess. I love you and Cameron more than anything else. I want to spend the rest of my life with you guys until I'm 6 feet under. I love you and I hope somewhere in your heart you can forgive me. I'm sorry and I'm truly sorry for breaking our promise and God's promise to each other. Wow. That's all, Your Honor.
All right. Ma'am, is that enough for you all to reconcile? I mean, the mistake of the real deal would have been when he assaulted you. That's when you should have left. And it may have taken you longer to forgive him under those circumstances. But doesn't that make you feel better? Don't you respect that? What he just did and said? Do you feel he's sincere?
We'll see.
All right. We'll see?
Yeah.
All right. So the value of the personal property you're suing for, let's talk about that.
Yes, it's MacBook, PlayStation 4, and 5 pair of the Jordans. We recently lived together when all this happened. I left to Texas, didn't get the chance to go grab any of my stuff, so I came back to Wisconsin, messaged her via Instagram to ask for my stuff. She said no, so I wasn't able to get any of my stuff.
Your counterclaim for emotional distress. Mm-hmm. How does he owe you? Is it the assaults?
The assaults, the emotion, literally that. Emotional distress. After he left, after he cheated, not only I had to deal with my own heartbreak, I had to deal with my son's heartbreak, and I had to deal with my entire family's heartbreak, and I had to deal with a town of people who knew us and the relationship that we put out there. And Robert just got to pick up and go and not deal with my child, not deal with myself, not give me no explanation. Actually, before he left, he told me that he wasn't sorry for what he did and that he had no guilt for what he did.
Okay.
I literally had to watch my son. Robert had a game room in our house. My son would wake up every day and go to his game room, sit on the couch. My son is not someone who just sits still. My son is wild. He runs around all of the time, from the minute he wakes up till the minute he goes to sleep, unless he's taking a nap. And my son would go to Robert's room every single morning and cry, like not throwing a fit cry, my heart hurts, my feelings are hurt cry. I had to put my own heartbreak and my own feelings aside so that way I could put his feelings first and foremost before mine and make sure that he was okay. I tried everything to distract him from the fact of not realizing that his dad wasn't there. There was nothing I could do except for deal with the situation at hand and care for my son to the best of my capability.
You're not suing for the assaults? That's not part of your emotional distress?
It is.
Okay.
I mean, everything leading up to this, it's just,
But it is the assault included?
Yes, it was my mistake to sit and believe I was blinded by love.
The reason I keep focusing on the assault, because that is typically the only way that judges award emotional distress.
Yeah.
It's when someone has engaged in domestic violence. Emotional distress is reserved for cases that are rare and extreme and outrageously bad. And hitting a woman is considered, for the most part, just that. Yeah. Everything else is normal relationship stuff. Yeah. And divorce. You can't sue a man that divorces you and the kids are distraught, or him the same way and the kids are distraught. Can't sue him for leaving. Can't sue him for being a bad dad. So for the effects of a breakup or abandonment, or however you want to characterize it, I can't give you any judgment for that. But let me give a little explanation on fatherless homes. Western civilization says that the man of the house is supposed to be a provider. The pressure is on us to provide. All men. But with black men, we are the least employed, the most discriminated against in the area of employment. Do you have your wife or your partner who is pressuring you about not bringing money in, not being a provider you're supposed to be? You have your children looking at you talking about, why can't I get the latest gym shoes like all the other kids in the neighborhood? Daddy, why don't you get a job? That's why we have so many fatherless homes, because they can't stand the pressure and the frustration of being unable to provide for your family. So instead, you either leave immediately or you turn to drugs to dampen the pain of poverty. I'm teaching now, and I'm supposed to teach. That's what I'm here for, not just the crack jokes. Not just the crack jokes. So put that in perspective. And I want everybody to put that in perspective. That pressure, that frustration, a lot of times they can't take it. And they start using drugs to dampen it, and ultimately those drugs are going to cause neglect of the household, perhaps even to leave, perhaps criminal activity, then incarceration. That's all races, particularly, however, those who are the least employed, which are black men. All right, I'm going to give you an opportunity, sir, to show you care more about your family than you care about money this time. Last time you were scared, I understood that. I asked if she willing to get back together. She kind of gave me a maybe. Now, maybe you will if you dismiss this claim. Maybe you got a chance, but I promise you, if you sue her, and I grant you this money while you haven't even been in touch with your child, let alone provide, you have zero chance of getting her back. Now, what you want to do?
I want my family back.
All right.
So you're dismissing the case. You're dismissing, my man. Awesome. All right, awesome. My man. Awesome. And you have to pay her for those assaults, $2,000 for the assaults which created emotional distress. Good luck to you. You're going to give more consideration now, right? To forgiveness, right?
Yes.
Have a good day.
I'm coming, Cynthia. Just know I'm coming.
Awesome.
Actions speak louder than words.
Period.